Good morning. Welcome in. SEC Insider Hit. Hey, good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. And the show is brought to you by the Armory on Lake Harbor in Ridgeland for all your firearms, optics, and suppressors. The Armory, Lake Harbor in Ridgeland in front of Kroger. All right. It's right down from McBee's. How about that? The Armory, Lake Harbor in Ridgeland for all your firearms, optics, and suppressor. Beautiful building. They took over a bank building. Very, very high-end shop. The Armory, Lake Harbor in Ridgeland, right in front of Kroger. This is 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Our NFL coverage is brought to you by an ice-cold Budweiser and wings from Martin's in Livingston. We welcome in Steve Palazzolo. His show, Check the Mic. He had the NFL Podcast of the Year recently, and he's our guy when it comes to NFL, and he joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Hey, Steve P., what do you think about the Dallas Cowboys in free agency to date?
Don't expect big splash moves would be the answer?
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, it's not like they're doing, this year at least, they're not doing than other teams. They just get more flack when they lock up their own. They locked up Osa Odighizuwa for 4 years, $80 million, which I thought was great relative to what other pass rushers were making on the market. And they just need to take care of their own guys right now. I think that's the only issue.
Okay. Well, they should have signed Parsons a long time ago. I mean, they've done this with Dak and CD and everybody else, so they wait an extra year and then they pay more. I mean, does that make any sense to you?
No, I mean, I get why some teams do it. We're dealing with that in Cincinnati right now with the Bengals, saying, hey, why didn't you figure out T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson and Jamar Chase earlier? And the earlier you do it, yes, the market's a little bit better. And you can then manipulate the cap a little bit easier going forward, right? You can start moving money around. You kind of know what you're getting into a little bit sooner. So, yeah, I think that's when people talk about what the Eagles do. It's not just they draft defensive linemen. I mean, they do a lot of things really well, including the way they manipulate money. Backload things. Maneuver the cap. They do a lot of things extremely well. They have a lot of edges that they tap into, and I think that's where some other teams are lacking.
Where would you rank Jerry Jones as a general manager in the NFL?
I've told you this before, but I mean, they've drafted extremely well. I mean, there is this.
Is it extremely well or good at times and then missed at times? Because I'm looking at this list.
It's extremely well. I mean, if you look at the last 6-7 years, I mean, just whatever time period you want. I mean, you can look at the last 2 years and say, okay, now it's been bad, because it is a cyclical thing, right? There's no GM in the NFL where you look at their draft track record and it's like, 10 straight years, pristine, it's beautiful. It usually goes in 4 and 5 year cycles, but in this last 6 or 7 year cycle, Dallas is as good as it gets. They really are as far as drafting. Now, I think they've hit a lull. Mozzie Smith in the first round, Tyler Guyton in the first round. I think they've had some issues the last couple of years, but that's somewhat normal to have your ups and downs. But the foundation that Dallas has laid through the draft is pretty strong relative to other teams.
Okay.
But just relying on being good in the draft is difficult to do, as I just said, because most people can't keep it up.
Well, and this is what we said, if you host a show, and you use all the tools that you can, streaming and YouTube and podcasting. We do too. We're live on ESPN, 50,000 watt FM right now. We're streaming on all sorts of platforms right now. Then we podcast, as you know, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we do live remotes, and we do different, and we have in studio guests. I mean, we use everything we can. I think what I've heard some of yours and other podcasts talk about, that I've really been binging NFL podcasts here lately, is Why in the hell wouldn't they leverage everything, and they don't? And if you don't, you can't win big. That's my takeaway from some of these podcasts that some of the smart ones that I like to listen to. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think there's definitely elements of needing to lean into all the tools when it comes to team building. And I will say this, I mean, they're similar to the Packers. Like, the Packers are always complimented for doing business the right way as a draft and develop team. And they very rarely, like, they will mix in some free agents, especially the last few years. But they are a draft and develop type of team. And I think Dallas is trying to do that, but without some of the early contracts and without, I hate using splash move in free agency because we know that's not what wins, but every now and again, you got to pay somebody in free agency. So yeah, I think that is where Dallas is missing out a little bit. And if they could work the cap a little bit better, which is a skill, right? There are 32, cap experts that have jobs around the NFL and teams of people, and some are better than others in how to manipulate things, because there's a difference between it's not about getting under the cap. It's about having the flexibility to make moves. So a team like Washington this year could trade for Deebo Samuel and trade for Laramie Tunsil because they were in a flexible spot. They have a rookie contract. Like, they know how to make those pieces fit. So that is important, is knowing how to make all of the pieces fit. And then when excellent players become available via trade or whatever it might be, you're in the game, right? You're not, oh, hey, sorry, we just can't. We have no space. We have no cap flexibility. Kind of like what the Saints have done the last few years. They can't be players in certain markets because they're just trying to be cap compliant, and they don't have the flexibility to make, a whole bunch of game-changing moves for their team. So yeah, every team's different in how they approach this, and again, some are better than others as far as making sure they're in position to pounce on good players when they're available.
Okay, who are you super impressed with in free agency, NFL free agency to date?
I like what the Bills have done, because again, what they have done isn't splashy, but they just filled out their roster basically with starters, and I think that's huge. Filling out, they needed a vertical threat, and they got Josh Palmer from the Chargers. They added a couple pass rushers, Joey Bosa on a 1-year deal, Michael Hoyt coming over from the Rams. And so, they've rounded out their roster. They're already rolling 7 or 8 deep on the defensive line, and they have 3 draft picks in the top 62. They have late first and then two twos. And so I love what the Bills are doing, just from hey, let's go into the draft with no needs, so that you're not inclined to draft needs. Because to me, you want to draft the best players, regardless of what position they are. So I think the Bills have done a nice job setting themselves up for the draft. I think the Bears, both sides of the line of scrimmage, reshaping their offensive line, 2 guards and a center, adding those guys to the mix, and then adding some depth on the defensive line has been huge. And again, we know how much the trenches matter. And, teams like the Bears, what the Bears are doing here, they're showing that you can reshape that thing in one off season. So I like what the Bears are doing. I like what the Vikings are doing. Similar, right? They have a ton of money to spend, and because they have the rookie contract quarterback, they're out from Kirk Cousins for another year. And so the Vikings have been spending a ton on their interior offensive line and their defensive line, bringing in Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, 2 of the better interior pass rushers. Kind of some boomer bust moves there, because those guys are getting a little bit older, maybe on the decline, but if they get the 75% of what they were a couple of years ago, the Vikings have made both lines of scrimmage much better this offseason.
What do you think about Kellen Moore as a head coach for the Saints? I know it's who knows who's going to work and who knows who isn't. Nobody knew who the hell Sean Payton was when he was hired. I know he was under Parcells, but he wasn't even the offensive coordinator at the time. But Bill loved him, and it worked. And they paired him with Drew, and it was a magical run down here for many, many years. How do you grade? Well, it's too early. But what do you think about the hire for the Saints grabbing Kellen Moore?
Yeah, I always preface things by saying so many of those things are unknowns, right? Nobody knew who Dan Campbell was as a coach until you kind of saw it in action. And so much of it is not just calling plays, right? We talk about this a lot too. The guys who get the jobs are the guys that you saw call plays the last couple of years, but that's not really the job description. It's everything else. It's the culture and leading and all things that we can't really see. But from what we've seen from Kellen Moore, I don't think he's a standout offensive coordinator. I don't think you go in and you say, this guy's got the schematic advantage, as Charlie Weiss used to say, and good luck keeping up with Kellen Moore. And I also don't think that there's a specific trend to Kellen Moore's game, like, oh, he's definitely going to pass, or he's definitely going to run, or he's going to run this type of system or that type of system. I think the biggest compliment for Kellen Moore is that he's adjusted to various systems, and including Philly last year with Saquon Barkley, with Jalen Hurts, with the receivers on the outside. They played to the strengths of their team. So I think that's more of the defining characteristic of Kellen Moore is he'll run the ball if that's what the situation or the season calls for. He'll pass the ball if he needs to. He'll try to play to the strengths of his team, and does seem like a sharp football mind, right? So like I'm not saying when I say they don't have the schematic advantage, like there's a handful of coaches, I think, where you say, hey, we have 10 years of evidence that Kyle Shanahan's offenses are going to be good. More than that now, 15 years of evidence. We have an idea. We have a lot of evidence around Andy Reid elevating people. We're just not there yet with Kellen Moore, but I do think his ability to adjust and play to the strengths of his team so far have been impressive across multiple stops.
All right, well, I think that's good news for Saints fans. Steve Palazzolo, his show, Check the Mic. He joins us on the Out of Bounds show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. What the biggest, as far as the quarterback moves, what's the one that you like the most?
Oh, man. I mean, the options weren't great. So I thought Seattle was fascinating, going with Sam Darnold. I don't know if it's the best, but going from a little bit older Geno Smith, if Darnold plays close to what he did last year for the majority of the season, it's a lateral move, if not an improvement for Seattle, I think, over Geno Smith. Now, there's a big what if, because we've only seen one good season for Sam Darnold, and last year it ended horribly. But he played great last year in Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, with good pass catchers. That's the caveat. So I like the move on the surface. You lock him up for multiple years. They had Geno heading into the last year of his deal. You get a little bit younger. I think Seattle was a little half in, half out as far as do they rebuild, do they go for it? But it's not like they're far away as a roster. So I thought that was a solid move. And then I think relative to expectations, the Jets bringing in Justin Fields on essentially a bridge quarterback type of deal, I thought was a good move. Now, I'm not saying the Jets are winning 12 games. I'm not saying they're making a playoff push. I'm saying they had no good options at quarterback, and they got a guy who could still be on the ascent, and we'll see what they can do, see what he has as the Jets rebuild. So I think relative to options, the Jets did a pretty good job for a team that's rebuilding.
Interesting.
And they have a guy with theoretical upside.
Okay. I mean, Justin Fields to me is what he is, average.
Yeah, but there's a chance, right? Like he got a little bit better last year with the Steelers. And if you're the Jets, to me, the number one goal for the Jets is how do I find my next franchise quarterback? And so what else were they going to do?
Right.
They're sitting there picking at number 7. Maybe they draft somebody at 7. Maybe they draft somebody in the second round. So they go halfway and they say, here's Justin Fields, guy with tools that's still getting a little bit better. Let's throw him into the mix. The second part of this needs to be draft someone as well and throw him into the mix. It could be Shadur Sanders in the first round. It could be Will Howard. It could be Jackson Dart in the second. It could be anyone. But throw the next guy into the mix. Let him compete with Justin Fields. We're not tied to Fields beyond a year or two.
Okay.
But let them go compete. So I'm evaluating the process, not so much, hey, I think Justin Fields is going to be great. And when you're trying to find the next quarterback, I think the process is important. That's how the Eagles got to where they are, by the way. Right? Like, they didn't say, we know what Jalen Hurts is. He's the next Super Bowl winning quarterback. They said, we have Carson Wentz, but we're going to use a second-round pick on Jalen Hurts. In the worst-case scenario, he becomes a backup for 4 years, and that's not a bad investment for a backup.
Right.
So, and then process-wise, that led them to a Super Bowl because Hurts developed and was really good, and they built a team around him, and the rest is history. So I think you have to attack that QB situation with good process, and I would say that's what the Jets did with the Justin Fields move.
Okay. Steve Palazzolo talking NFL, offseason moves, front offices, draft. Speaking of, I don't know if you've done your rankings, but where do you have Jackson Dart ranked as far as QBs going into the draft?
I'm right in the middle of evaluating. I mean, I don't think he'll be 1 or 2. I think I'll probably have Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. Dart will be in the mix for 3. There's some stuff that I like, some stuff I don't. I don't think he's the toolsiest guy. I think him and Shedeur both have similarities as far as they're not evading pressure that great. I don't think they're making a ton of spectacular plays. I've enjoyed watching Dart throw the ball under pressure while getting hit, but when he's trying to move around and make plays outside of structure, not always great. I don't know if the arm talent as far as throwing off platform and making those off rhythm basically plays that you need to make in the NFL. I don't know if that's always there, but I've been impressed with Dart's ability to stand in there, make plays under pressure. Certainly has some of those on tape. So I'm intrigued by Dart so far. I don't know if I would put him in the first round mix or not yet, but yeah, I think he's very much in that QB3 type of, he's a candidate for QB3 and going in the first round, depending on how the needs fall in the draft.
And is Cam Ward your number 1? I heard Todd McShay say on his podcast that Cam Ward would have been the 4th or 5th best QB last year. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I still believe in Caleb Williams. Drake May looked really good. Jaden Daniels, of course, had one of the best seasons of all time. I mean, Cam definitely, I don't think he would be in the top 3. And Michael Penix Jr., I think, is looking really good and has a chance to be really good. Bo Nix was very good. And J.J. McCarthy looked good in his 1 preseason game. So I think there was a reason why 6 guys went in the top 12 last year. But I do think Cam Ward is the top guy for this year, in part because I like to chase the upside. I think that is a thing in the NFL that went away for many years that I hated. You saw Jake Locker and Blaine Gabbert and, all these guys, Blake Bortles, just fail. Toolsy guys who just did not make it. But then when Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Mahomes and Herbert and a bunch of those guys start to hit, you see the impact when they do get there. So I think that's where we are, and that's where Cam Ward is the closest to that for me, which is the ability to make the throws to every level, make plays inside structure, outside of structure. And so I think Cam Ward is the clear one because of the upside he brings to the table.
He's our NFL insider, Steve Palazzolo. His show, Check the Mic. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. DK Metcalf to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Did you love it, like it? What was your reaction?
No, I like it for the Steelers. I mean, a second-round pick for DK, and you got to pay him, but not a lot of those types of players out on the market. There was not a lot of guys who average 15 yards per catch, win on the outside, win down the field. There's some scarcity of those types of players. So for the Steelers to get DK, I thought that was a really nice move. Now we'll see what happens at the quarterback position, of course. But either way, they did need to put those pieces in place. Some questions at receiver. George Pickens is heading into the last year of his deal. He's a little volatile with the way he plays and the way, attitude-wise. So I think it was a good move for Pittsburgh. Again, they have to figure out the quarterback position now to make it all work, but I thought that was a nice move. And then for Seattle, just intriguing that, they now have 10 draft picks, 5 in the top 3 rounds.
Wow.
And they're in this, they have a chance to just get, if they hit on this draft, whole different Seattle team, and, they're looking good for the future if they bring in some talent. So I don't think it feels good if you're a Seahawks fan losing DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett this offseason.
Right.
But they have the pieces to get younger, reset that roster around Sam Darnold, which I think makes Seattle one of the more intriguing teams heading into the draft.
Where do you rank DK Metcalf? Is he in your top 5, top 10, top 15 wide receivers? Where would he fall?
I mean, instinctually, I think he's close to the 10. I'd have to see the list of receivers to kind of sort it out, but
sure.
I don't think he's in the tier of A.J. Brown and what Tyreek Hill's been, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. I don't think he's that level of all around. But when you're talking in receiver 10 to 15 range, kind of like a Mike Evans, Mike Evans gets a lot of credit for his 1,000-yard consistency, but he's never really dominant necessarily in a given year. And I think DK has that type of ability where you have dominant games. You're going to get, a good chunk of yards. The 15 yards per catch in today's NFL is rare. You don't have a whole bunch of people that are that consistent as vertical threats. So he's unique in that skill set, but he doesn't have the high volume ability of some of the other top guys. So I'd say receiver 8 to 12, say somewhere in that range.
Okay. Travis Kelce, how much gas is left in the tank?
Didn't look like much last year, and I think because of Kelce's track record and what he did the previous season, I think a lot of us, myself included, expected, hey, he'll just turn it on in the playoffs, right? He's sleepwalking through the regular season. The Chiefs tend to do this, and then, he'll be in shape and look sharp in the playoffs, and he didn't. He looked old. So it's tough because every time he got the ball in space, we're used to seeing him make guys miss and turn 5-yard gains into 15 or 20-yard gains, and he didn't do that at all last year. I mean, I think maybe once do I remember him catching the ball, making somebody miss, and making a big play. So I don't think he has much left from that perspective, but he still has that innate ability to get open, that connection with Patrick Mahomes. So a guy that can average, 8-9 yards per catch, get open on third downs. I think Kelce still has some of that, but unless something happens with his training regimen or whatever it might be, he looks like he's lost multiple steps and is, one step out the door as far as his career goes.
Dang. All right. Shots fired. Wow. All right. So that was a mic drop by Check the Mic host Steve Palazzolo. When it's all right, last one, we got 30 seconds. When it's all said and done, will the Dallas Cowboys have a top 5 roster in the NFC? I don't think there's any way in hell, but I want to get your thoughts.
No, they did a couple years ago.
Yeah, for 4 minutes they did. Yeah. Okay.
No, they did, but yeah, they won't be.
Okay.
Unless they draft, they got to hit on every draft pick, but we'll find out in a while.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope you have a good weekend in Cincinnati.
All righty. Thank you.
Go Reds.
Appreciate it.
See you, buddy.
Yeah.
Steve Palazzolo. Check the Mic is his show. All of our segments, interviews, and fun are on Apple Podcast and Spotify. We would love for you to go there. Our podcast is on fire. Apple Podcast and Spotify. Search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds, including Bartoo talking about how the game of college basketball has changed. And it's being driven by offense, and offensive scoring efficiency. Apple Podcast and Spotify. Search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. Lunch today brought to you by Burgers, Blues, and Barbecue. B3, Dogwood, Flowwood.
Say, kids, what time is it?
It's 9 a.m., and this ain't no kiddie show. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
On aboard!
As Mississippi's #1 morning show rolls on the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
Good morning. Welcome in to the Out of Bounds Show. 105.9 The Zone ESPN. The show is brought to you by Dancing Rabbit Golf Club and the Golden Moon Casino. Inside there's the sports book, the Timeout Sports Lounge, full bar and full menu to enjoy the SEC tournament and March Madness. Book your stay and play now. DancingRabbitGolf.com, DancingRabbitGolf.com, PearlRiverResort.com too. Goodness gracious. What a day. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app and the zone1059.com. The Dancing Rabbit Golf text line is 601-885-3776. Twitter X at Bo Bounds. Thank you, Elon Musk, for saving this country. Is that extreme? I don't think it is, Jackson. What do you think? Okay. I think it's spot on. And then the Michelob Ultra caller line is 601-707-3750. 601, the caller line, 601-707-3750. Hey, this guy on Twitter named Jonathan Bailey makes I just retweeted it on Twitter, at Bo Bounds. He makes a different shirt for every win that Mississippi State wins, and they're really cool. So he's able to just throw together these cool, it's a picture of a jersey every time Mississippi State wins in basketball. It's awesome. I just retweeted it.
Okay, let me go look at it.
And so you may want to check it out, but it's, cool little deal he's come up with, and I'm impressed. Josh Hubbard has scored 10-plus points in 31 of his 32 games this season. Josh Hubbard has scored 15-plus points in 25 of his 32 games this season. Josh Hubbard has scored 20-plus points in 12 of his 32 games this season. And Josh Hubbard has scored 25-plus points in 6 of his 32 games this season. Call number 12. That's good. That's from Hail State Muse. I don't know who that is, but I saw it on Twitter. Something else I saw on Twitter, I thought this was wild, Jackson. Nolan Ryan's ERA. Nolan Ryan's ERA was 3.09 the year the Beatles' White Album came out.
Wow.
Okay. It was 2.91 the year Nirvana released Nevermind.
Wait.
You talking about an Iron Man.
Gee.
How about that? Nolan Ryan's ERA was 3.09 the year the Beatles' White Album came out. It was 2.91 the year Nirvana released Nevermind, which I was in high school.
You talking about for the White Album?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
No.
I know.
No, Nirvana.
Yeah, I know.
Nirvana.
You weren't in high school when the Beatles were there.
No, I wasn't even
Born.
No, I was out. There was something else that I saw here that I thought
That
was
jersey's dope.
Isn't it cool?
Pretty cool.
I think he does it every time Mississippi State wins, and it's really well done.
Oh, these are actually really tight.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, what do you think?
I like them. I like these a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like we need one of these.
I agree with that.
Oh, he's got a Bulldog. He's got a Mississippi State Vancouver Grizzlies mashup.
How about that?
That's hot. I like that.
You like that?
I like that a lot. Dang, this guy's pretty talented.
You know, I think I'm craving a gyro and some Parmesan fries from Aplos. I'm really hungry. It's only $9.05.
Well, you only need like $14.
It's beautiful.
It's so nice.
Yeah. Aplos in the Renaissance, Aplos in Highland Village. Jackson's been on the U rotation for a year. And then you get those Parmesan fries and get a cold Stella Artois and you're rocking. You know?
I mean, this is really all you need. And now if it's sunny, obviously you want to stay there and sit outside.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. That they've got both places, Highland Village and Aplos, are awesome outside areas. I'm with you 100%.
What? You should have never shown me these.
Aren't they cool?
They are. Like, really, really cool.
You want to go over my 1990s?
You already got
1980s thing?
Do you have it?
I don't have the 90s quite yet.
All right, let's go back to the
I
80s.
can tell you two guys that I think are going to make my favorite college basketball players from the 1990s. Jamal Mashburn.
Okay. That's a good pick.
Huge signee for Rick Pitino at Kentucky. And Chris Webber.
Ah, that's a good one.
Part of the Fab Five.
Yeah.
He was my favorite by far on the Fab Five.
I don't like Weber.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like
I mean, I like Juwan Howard. I like
Jalen.
Rose, I get. But, Chris Webber by far and away.
Yeah. Weber rules.
Yeah. Then it gets, I've got to really, I was not, none of the Duke players are going to be on it.
Okay.
North Carolina, I don't even think Rasheed's going to make, those weren't my favorite guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you.
I just wasn't a Duke or North Carolina guy. I went to UNL. I mean, I grabbed UNLV as a team, and then, I loved Mashburn and the way that Pitino played. Scotty Thurman was good. I loved what Nolan was intimidating. He'd walk in. He was tall. He had those cowboy boots on. And Corliss Williamson, he had some players. But I've already grabbed Chris Jackson from the 80s. So, and if you're wondering who my 1980s top 5 favorite college basketball players from the 80s, number 1 is Charles Barkley. Number 2 is Chris Jackson. Number 3 is Chauncey Robinson. Yep. Some of you know who he is, but he played at Mississippi State. He's a good player. Greg Anthony, UNLV, 4. And then I really struggled with 5, Rod Strickland. Do we have a caller?
Yes, we do. Gator Mike.
Gator Mike? Oh, Moten and Maxwell. I loved watching Vernon Maxwell and Andrew Moten. Gator Mike, what's up?
Hey, man, you can't mention nobody from North Carolina. I mean, Vince Carter, man. Insanity.
Great player.
Vince.
Great player.
I mean, the 360s and everything he was doing, I mean, it was insane because he had Jamal, who was it? He also had the power forward that was there. That was really great. Oh, what was his name?
Not Horns.
Are you talking
No. Oh, man, who was it that was with him?
Not
it was
Rasheed.
Vince Carter.
Yeah.
No. It wasn't Rasheed Wallace, but because Rasheed Wallace and Stackhouse were together.
Stackhouse, that's what I was thinking. Stackhouse.
Yeah, Jerry Stackhouse and Rasheed Wallace were together.
God, what did
But it
North
was,
Carolina do to get those two players? Wow.
Probably bought somebody at family's houses or something.
Yeah, you remember Christine Smith didn't cheat? Yeah, right. Come on.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
I used to love
You're definitely right about that.
Yeah. Are you excited about the madness?
Oh, my God. The SEC play right now, I can't believe how outstanding the SEC is.
I know.
It is so great to watch. I'm leaning. I can't wait till 12 o'clock today. I'm at home. I'm gonna be watching it. Maybe get some wings and a beer.
Love it. Be good, buddy. See ya. Oh, Bartoo is high on Kentucky. Why? He said they can put it in the basket, baby. He said they don't even think about playing D. Whoa. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Sam Williams leaves the Brandon Bulldogs. And it caught them off guard, and that's not a shot, to go to UMS Wright Prep School in Mobile. They are a football-driven school, just like St. Paul down there. They got money. They offered him a boatload of it. He gets to live by the water. Now, he's got big shoes to fill, but he proved he could go to Brandon and win. His kids get to go to a school that's one of the best prep schools in the Southeast. And again, they've got resources. Now, Brandon has resources. But sometimes there's another level. So, something to keep an eye on. What direction is Brandon going to go, and will they be able to pick up their Brandon graduate, Jake Bramlett, at Ocean Springs? Will he leave the Mississippi Gulf Coast to go to Brandon? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if his parents live here, if he's from, this is what he's wanted to do. Everybody's talking about how they're stacked. I remember TJ, who listens to the show, in definitive terms 2 years ago, told us Brandon's winning it, period, end of discussion. And they didn't, because there's no such thing. But something to think about. What are your thoughts on Sam Williams leaving Brandon? Who do you think they should go after? What do you think is the top job in the state right now? Because there's been a shift to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So everybody used to say Madison Central. And now MRA's gotten in the game big. Prep's always been in the game. Hartfield back-to-back. You've got other big, Starkville and Oxford are big programs with good players and lots of, you got 300, 400 kids in a grade over, times 3, maybe times 4. You can net out 100 players, which is huge. It's about bodies. And then you want to net out, 25, I guess, to 30 players that are, good. Well, not that many are going to be good, but you know what I mean? So it's a numbers game. But when we had the reclassification in the state of Mississippi a couple of years ago, what area of the state had the biggest jump as far as 6A to 7A? The Mississippi Gulf Coast. That's where the explosion in population is. So, we'll see.
He's going to get down there and win it.
Sam Williams?
Yeah.
He's a good coach.
Dang good coach.
He's a good coach. 45-10. Did you tell me 45-10 at Brandon?
Correct.
Okay.
Casually.
I love that call in the last segment. I was talking about my top 5 favorite college basketball players from the 80s. And then I went into the 90s and I mentioned I wasn't going to, and this is my favorite. So like I wasn't a Duke fan. So right. I wasn't cheering for her. I know a lot of you were. You loved her. That's great. You loved Hurley and Leitner and Grant Hill. And I recognize their excellence. Back-to-back titles in 91. I mean, they went 3 years in a row. They got their doors blown off in 1990 by my UNLV running Rebels and Tark the Shark and Greg Anthony. And the Plastic Man, Stacey Augman, and so on. And then they won it in 91. And then they won it in 92. They went to 3 straight final championship games. They won it in 92. Or was that the championship game in 90? Either way, UNLV won it. Duke won it in 91. Duke won it in 92. And then North Carolina wins it in 93 when Chris Webber calls the timeout. 94 was Arkansas. 95 was UCLA. I did like that UCLA team. Jim Herrick was interesting. He would eventually end up at Georgia and was doing well there. And then somebody got caught in a Ford Explorer. Somehow they tied it in with him. It was a guard out of Louisiana. Tony somebody. But 95, Herrick wins it with, what was it? Toby Bailey, and the O'Bannon brothers. because didn't Mississippi State lose to them in the Sweet 16? I think so. No, Tyrus Edney. Yeah. Bailey, O'Bannon brothers. 96, Rick Pitino finally gets his first one. That team was 11 NBA players. 11 of those guys would eventually be on NBA rosters. 97, Lute Olson with the perfect hair finally gets it at Arizona. Loved their uniforms.
Yeah.
Loved watching. When I could catch Arizona in the late 80s, early 90s, loved watching the Arizona Wildcats. They played a fun brand and style of basketball. 98, Tubby wins it with Kentucky. Combination of Pitino's players, and he did a good job. And then I think 99's UConn, and Jim Calhoun gets his first one. And then Izzo gets his first one in 2000. Who'd he beat? A young Billy Donovan, who years later would go back-to-back with the Florida Gators. I love college basketball. I did that all. I wasn't looking at anything. Jackson knows that. I was just a hoops. I mean, think about that run, man. Yeah. All those incredible players. Who do you think the best player in the NBA is right now?
SGA. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Okay.
He is the
is he better than Jason Tatum?
He is. Yeah. He has been this year.
Okay.
That hurts to say.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, that kid's the MVP this year. It's ridiculous. Obviously, you got Joker.
Right?
I mean, he put up a historical stat line the other night when he dropped 30, 20, 20. Not many 30, 20, 20 games.
No, that's filthy. Hey, back to the Dancing Rabbit golf text line. This is from Brad. Bo, I remember Kenny Anderson at Georgia Tech. I do too, man. He was a hell of a player. Bobby Crimmins could recruit. I don't know what. I guess he had a little pack of alums, 4 to 6, 6 to 8 dudes that were willing to go get players. Dennis Scott, among others. Dude, Georgia Tech had some players. Stephon Marbury went through there. But, yeah, I mean, look, Kenny Anderson could go.
Hey, Kenny was good.
Allen Iverson. Iverson played with Othello Harrington. That team was an Elite 8 team, Othello's last year. Now, Mississippi State went to the Final Four that same year. Othello came down to Mississippi State and Georgetown. Robert Kirby, assistant coach for Richard Williams, they thought they had him, and John Thompson came in and got Othello. But that last year, it was, I think Allen Iverson averaged 25 a game, which in college hoops is filthy. But yeah, Othello, there was some crossover with Othello and Allen Iverson. They went to the league. In fact, I think that may have been John Thompson's last run. I may be wrong. He may, Bobby Knight the ship had sailed. It's hard, to sustain. Georgetown had already plateaued. They probably didn't do what they wanted to do the 2 years prior to that. I know they did. But that last year of Othello, and they had Allen Iverson, they went to the Elite 8. And that may have been John Thompson's last deep run in the NCAA tournament. I'll have to look it up during the break. And then Brad also said, I used to get the Pizza Hut Final Four basketballs each year. I did too. Back when Pizza Hut was good, if you got Pizza Hut in 1994, damn near gourmet.
Oh, yeah.
Damn near gourmet. That one on I-55 Frontage Road was unbelievable for years. Damn, I'd love a pizza from Aplos.
That's so good.
We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Let's see if Bartoo wakes up. All right, wings and beer at the sports book on the property of Pearl River Resort inside the Golden Moon, the Timeout Sports Lounge. Book your stay and play right now, dancingrabbitgolf.com, and have a ton of fun. We'll be there later this afternoon. We'll have dinner at Philip M's. We'll be watching right about that time Mississippi State and Missouri. And then we'll do the show from the sports book. No, from Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. I'm sorry. I'll be from Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, the back porch, tomorrow. And then Monday I'll be at inside the sports book right after Selection Sunday, which is 5 o'clock our time. And we'll know where Mississippi State and Ole Miss are going. So it's March Madness. It's Dave Bartoo, Diamond Dave, college basketball insider, joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Right now, Ole Miss is a 7 seed, and Mississippi State is an 8 seed. Auburn and Florida are number 1 seeds. Tennessee and Bama are number 2 seeds. Kentucky and A&M are number 3 seeds. It's just filthy. Missouri's at number 7. Dave Bartoo, good morning. Thanks for getting up early, bud.
Dude, after yes, I think I was so unproductive yesterday watching basketball. Oh my gosh! Seriously, there was 39 games yesterday, and you know I was telling you yesterday in the show that I had this new modeling for live betting in the second half, and I played red light, green light with all my Patreon members yesterday, betting these second half, or at least reviewing them with this modeling, and it was nothing short of spectacular yesterday. So, and thank you, Georgia. Since we're in the SEC, we should start by thanking Georgia to holding true to their in-conference pattern. And you would have liked this bet yesterday, right? So Georgia ends the first half. Second half live comes up at 39.5. Easy bet. Since January 1, the number of times Georgia has gone 40 and over in the second half, 3 of 18. And guess who went under in the second half yesterday? Georgia.
Hey, I had buddies texting me, and they were like, Bartoo nailed some of these games and the way that the trend and the pattern. I mean, I hate to give you credit, but I have to when it's there.
I think one of the most intriguing parts of our conversation yesterday, when I was talking about how the numbers show that offense is so dominant in men's college basketball, how important it is, right? Mm-hmm. And then you backed it up with, unbeknownst to me, the story about Rick Pitino and his discussions on offense in college basketball. The better scoring efficiency team in Southeast Conference play went 4-0 yesterday.
Hello.
4 best offenses won all the games yesterday.
Wow.
And overall, in all 39 games, the better offense going into yesterday's games was 29-10 straight up yesterday.
Oh.
Just a better offense. 29-10.
Jackson.
It's the defense does not win basketball games in college basketball. The men's college basketball just doesn't do it very well.
Jackson, did you hear that? You love to bet. 29-10. Better offensive scoring efficiency teams.
He's approaching my ping pong odds.
That's right. Jackson's been, it's a whole nother, we can't go down this rabbit hole, but Jackson's been betting parlays in ping pong in the Czech Republic, and he just hit one on Monday. So I just wanted to fill you in, Bartoo, on the degenerate gambler that I have in studio with me every day. So our listeners love it when he starts talking about a 4 or 6 leg parlay in ping pong in the Czech Republic, and they play damn near 24 hours a day, Bartoo.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That is funny, and I actually now have to tune in at some point. I'm going to have to go onto Spotify and look up Out of Bounds show and find this Czech Republic discussion.
Well, all right, and for our listeners, the interview yesterday is timeless for a while. Now, he hit some games, but Bartoo went 7 or 8 minutes on how offensive scoring efficiency is driving college basketball now, and threw in all kinds of nuggets. And so that's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. And then now Do you want to go games or you want to continue to go big picture trend? I mean, you just threw out some, but
we can go games, and I'm going to be doing the same. If anybody listening is a member of my Patreon account, I'll be doing the same thing, betting second half lives all day. I got so many texts going. Okay, Dave, I'm sitting here, Golden Moon. I got UC Davis over under 38.5 second half. We'll be doing that all day. But why don't we jump into your SEC games? That's what the show's about. There was. I know you were you feel that all these teams are in, but there were some bad. That was a bad loss yesterday. I mean, Vanderbilt doesn't look good. The offense does on paper, but I think that was a huge win for Texas. Huge win, obviously, for Mississippi State and the damage that they did to LSU. A bit shocking there. Who's up first today for SEC?
All right, this is perfect. We got a local team. Arkansas and Ole Miss are at 12 o'clock today.
That's the first one up. Okay, and guess what? I don't even have that one in my computer yet.
Well, we can keep going.
I don't even think it was. I don't even think it was set on the schedule. But couple clicks of the button, and here we go. Why don't we start with the better scoring efficiency offense? Right out of the gate. Ole Miss 192, Arkansas 296. So that I'm immediately on the side of Ole Miss. Okay. But this game, defensively, Ole Miss is 197, Arkansas is 159. So I think this game is going to be closer. I don't know what the line is yet.
3.5, 4.5, excuse me.
I have it projected 75.9, 73.7. So I got 2.2 point spread. Okay. And you're at 4.5?
Yeah.
So
here's what's funny, Bartoo. Since we started the show, when we started at 7 a.m., it was 3.5. Ole Miss laying 3.5. It's now 4.5, just 2.5 hours later.
Right. And if that's Golden Moon numbers, that's just local betting, right? That's emotional betting right there. My total on this, though, so I'm at 149.6.
Okay. The total is 144.5.
This model's kind of sitting on those lines. Leans a little bit Arkansas cover. The models both agree. Ole Miss is a better team. There's not much room there in the total. I do not like being between 140 and 150. Those are like the danger zone. Kenny Loggins say just staying out of 140 to 150 range. I like having the model under 150 and the real total over 150 and vice versa. The model being over 140 and the actual total being under 140. That one is right in the middle. So cheers. Go Rebs. Let's just get the win and get out of the building.
All right, so the Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary game at the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook, the Timeout Lounge on the property of Pearl River Resort, is Arkansas Ole Miss. Ole Miss laying 4.5, and Ole Miss is a 100 spots better in offensive scoring efficiency than the Razorbacks. Okay, Bartoo, do you want to go to Mississippi State, Missouri, or Texas A&M?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I got bad news for you on the offensive scoring efficiency, though. Missouri 32nd in the country.
Ooh.
Really, really good offense.
Ooh.
Now, like a lot of teams, just like Texas, they don't play defense near as well. So it's a very offensive heavy team. But Mississippi State's coming in at 189. But you got to love what they did yesterday to get warmed up physically and mentally.
Sure.
With LSU, I have this. I got this modeled out. I got Missouri by 3.8, so Missouri by 4, and I am sitting at a 157.5 line.
Damn, you nailed it. Missouri's laying 3.5, and the total's 156.5.
There's nothing, dude. No meat on that bone for gamblers. For me, man, no meat on the bone. I mean, all these things, they get basketball games. They really should. But to me, better scoring efficiency, better offense. That's both in Missouri's favor. So I do like Missouri winning here, but if you're going to bet something, I'll bet Missouri money line, and that's about it.
Okay, Missouri money line. Missouri, for our listeners, Missouri is 32nd in offensive scoring efficiency. Mississippi State's 189th. I mean, Missouri's got some dues. Dennis Gates has done a damn good job. He was under Leonard Hamilton at Florida State for years, and with Stan Jones, who's excellent down there, as we've talked about. Bartoo, I've got two more: Texas and Texas A&M, or Oklahoma and Kentucky. Either one you want to.
Well, let's zip down to Kentucky now. Kentucky. Now here's your Kirk Ferentz opposite day team right here is Kentucky. Kentucky's coming in number 8 in offensive scoring efficiency in the country.
Wow.
So that is wicked good. On the flip side, wicked bad, they are 342nd out of 364 on defense. So, like I said, it's opposite day for Kirk Ferentz because he's used to a great defense and a bad offense. But Oklahoma coming, so it's obviously offensively dominated. Oklahoma's at 217, which again was better than the Georgia team they played last night. So, but because of Kentucky's defense, I got a much closer line than you would expect with a number 8 offense. I got Kentucky by 4.5, and the total is at 159.4. So that's where the model is right now this morning. What do you got?
I have Kentucky laying 6.5, and the total is 161.5.
Yeah. Well, again, we're dropping right in on these things. With Kentucky having that number 8 offense and Oklahoma the number 308 defense, I would not be betting under in this game. Both defenses are worse than both offenses. Spread-wise, Oklahoma played late last night. They're going to play again late tonight. And there's only about 2 points difference there. I guess we're going back to the Kentucky money line on this one. Okay. Because we're only looking at a 2-point difference between the model and what's available. So that, to me, playing it safe there, but I don't see the upset. I do see the upset in the last game.
Texas A&M?
Yep, because what have we been talking about? Offense drives. And what did we talk about yesterday? Who came into the game with Texas playing yesterday and with Vanderbilt, and Texas had the far better offense. And so maybe we just got lucky, and it turned out that way. But in this game, Texas, number 146 in offense, Texas A&M, 211. Right? Now, from a model standpoint, because the Longhorn defense is so bad, it still has A&M by 4.9. And a total is at 147. So I'm going to stick with Texas. We had them yesterday as the upset alert. I think that's going to be the upset alert today. Texas continues their run. I'll take Texas plus. What are you at right now? I was at plus 6.5 last night, is what it said.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so I'll take the Longhorns plus 6.5. My total's at 147. I think there's a lot of room there on that one too.
It's 139.5.
Oh, it went up overnight. It's chasing the number. So I like the over in that. If it hits 140, 141, once it gets to the 140s, like I said before, I'm off of that. I like Texas, though, covering in this ball game. And, yeah, if you want to sprinkle a little money line upset alert, that's my favorite one of the day.
All right, that was awesome. Okay, so Ole Miss, better offensive scoring efficiency. Texas better, but A&M's got the much better record, and they've got a better coach. Texas, as Bartoo said, they don't even think about going down and getting in a defensive stance. They're like, the hell with it. Just, throw the ball around a little bit. Let's get back on the offensive end. Kind of like Kentucky. Mississippi State, Missouri. Missouri, far better. 150 spots better in offensive scoring efficiency. And right now, post-COVID, it's all about putting the ball in the hoop and shot makers. And so I don't like the matchup. They just smoked Mississippi State a few weeks ago, but you also have to play it out. So if Josh Hubbard gets hot like he was last night, maybe Mississippi State can make this one hell of a ball game. And then Oklahoma and Kentucky. Kentucky by far and away the better offensive team. Kentucky is number 8 in offensive scoring efficiency. Y'all, they don't care about D, but they're number 342nd in defensive scoring efficiency.
And it's funny we had that conversation yesterday because I got a call from an athletic director whose team got blown out yesterday, and I had worked with him on football side of hiring this year, and he's like, basketball was not good. I'm like, yeah, no kidding. I'm looking at these numbers. It's terrible. And he's like, what do your numbers say? And just very simply, higher for offense. Higher, and I went through kind of like what I went through you. Here's all the basics of men's basketball. Higher for offense and let it take care of itself. We'll see how the trend goes, but yesterday, 29-10, the best offenses won. That was their record straight up yesterday. So we'll see what happens today.
Now, Portland, Oregon that's a basketball city with y'all never having an NFL team, and with the championship in the 70s with Bill Walton, and then the hell of a run with Clyde Drexler and so on. Am I right there? Or are y'all more of a basketball city?
This is the city. That's what it is. I mean, they support the Trailblazers more than anything. I mean, there's nothing else. The nearest pro teams are up in Seattle, 4 hours away. So, and as much as they love football down in Eugene, and Eugene is a football school, the Ducks are a football school. Portland is a basketball city.
Yeah.
And as strange as that may sound, I mean, people, as much as Duck fans love their teams, they just don't get out of their bubble much and understand what it's like in the SEC.
Right.
Y'all crazy down there. Actually, it's not just the SEC. I mean, it's just basically Oklahoma Panhandle, go all the way east and south, all the way down to Key West, and boom, it's just Nutsville. So we don't have that here. But I would agree, Portland is a basketball city for sure with the Blazers.
And y'all have and have had a hell of a basketball team for a while now, since I guess Altman was hired. But I mean, look at this. Oregon's 29th in the net rankings. They're 23-8. They're 9-6, which is awesome in quad one games. So they're looking at a hell of a seed in the tournament, and could win some games.
They're probably looking into what, a 5 seed maybe?
Yeah.
And well, and this is a team too that on a neutral court, amazingly enough to you and me, beat Alabama. So, it's not like they don't have the players and the ability to get it done. So it's we'll see where they land. Well, they have Indiana today, so we'll see if they take care of business later on this afternoon.
Okay. All right, dude. Well, I'm fired up about today. Ole Miss starts in 2 hours and 10 minutes. And so pick out your lunch spot and get you some wings and an ice cold Michelob Ultra and start the day. And Mississippi State's at 6 against Mizzou. They're going to have their hands full again. Mizzou, number 32 in offensive scoring efficiency. Goodness gracious. They can put it in the basket.
Oh, and that's a reason why I'm not all rah about Tennessee. I know they say, they got the players, they got this, they got that. Their defense is number 70. Their offense isn't even in the top 150. I mean, there wasn't a single offense in the Sweet 16 outside the top 160 last year.
Wow.
150? So, I mean, if somebody said, hey, Dave, SEC maybe overrated, could get dismissed early. Now, none of us had Auburn last year, but if I had to pick one this year, I'd circle Tennessee. By the numbers, they just don't look as strong as the bunch of other offenses in the SEC.
All right. We'll leave it there. It sounds like he likes Kentucky, even though Kentucky doesn't even think about D'ing up. But because they're number 8 in offensive scoring efficiency, it sounds like, Bartoo, you like Kentucky better than Tennessee as we march into the postseason.
Yeah, and something, I don't like Kentucky's defense, but if I had to pick one to go to battle for me right now based on the numbers, I'm going to take Kentucky Or maybe both of them just aren't that good, and they're both overrated.
There
I
you
don't
go.
know.
Okay. All right, dude. Have a great day. We appreciate you going back to back.
Take it easy, brother.
See you, man. Dave Bartoo on the Out of Bounds show. He likes Ole Miss in the game, and they're 100 spots better in offensive scoring efficiency than Arkansas. And Missouri's 150 spots better than Mississippi State in offensive scoring efficiency. So Hub, among others, are going to have to really pump it in. And you know they're going to try to take Hub out, so we'll see what Jans can do. They got embarrassed a few weeks ago. That game got away from them in Columbia, Missouri. We'll see. But, hey, again, you're there. You won yesterday. You played in the arena. And we'll see. It's still going to be a ton of fun today. So Arkansas and Ole Miss at 12. A&M and Texas at 2:30. Mississippi State and Missouri at 6. And Oklahoma and Kentucky tonight at who knows what time. Plus all these other games that the Big Ten and the Big 12 and the ACC and all of that. So plenty to bet. We'll be live from Pearl River Resort inside the Golden Moon at the Timeout Sports Lounge tomorrow. Looking forward to that. And maybe a little ribeye and some saffron chowder tonight at Philip M's. Yeah. Jackson?
I could do for a little bit of that saffron chowder. It doesn't matter.
It makes life better.
It does, and it doesn't matter if it's cold, hot.
No.
I'm talking about the weather, but yeah, I like that stuff piping hot though.
Yeah. It's I haven't been there in a while. So I am really excited about dinner tonight. And we haven't been on the road this week, so here we go. Little Pearl River Resort, Philip M's. Book your stay and play now. DancingRabbitGolf.com. And the let's lunch today. Brought to you by the Smash Burger, Jackson, and some onion rings at Burgers Blues Barbecue. They've got a new location in Dogwood, Flowwood. It's on the south side of Lakeland. Dogwood, Flowwood, B3, Burgers Blues Barbecue. Go with the Smash Burger or the Blue Plate at Burgers Blue. They got a full bar there and an outside area. It's really, really cool. At B3, Burgers Blues Barbecue, Dogwood, Flowwood, or get you a to-go order. Whatever you want to do. Dirty Bird Wrap, fried chicken, Dirty Bird Wrap. I like your glow-in-the-dark pullover. Glad you wore that today, so we'll be able to see you tonight. Have a good one. We'll be live from Pearl River Resort tomorrow.